I'll make it announcements. About,
See, we've been done and touched stuff.
not All right. Thanks for staying for our last section today. A couple of announcements before we get going. Remember that tomorrow morning we start at 8 a.m. instead of 9 a.m. I know Larry's going to have to set a little bit earlier alarm either tonight or tomorrow morning to make sure you're awake and not hungover, or maybe just awake. Standing is a good thing. 8 a.m. tomorrow, we have 3 sessions, and they'll all be done prior to noon tomorrow. So Larry's son Ross is coming to present. It's going to be tremendous. A couple of announcements on the presentations. We're still trying to work out some kinks there. I've had both Elijah and Paul open those up to the public. So I think they do have to be re-uploaded. Or if you want to email me, I'll give you my email right now, and then I can just copy and paste the link in an email back to you, and maybe that will work immediately, and you can get right on stuff today as we speak. So if you want to write down my email is elder, so it would be EELDER at ISD177.com. EELDER at ISD177.com. And then while Paul's speaking here, I'll just start copy and pasting links if you need those, and we'll go from there. Questions on that? All right, let's hear some ruminations, Paul. Let's hit it.
All right, thanks, Eric. I see some familiar faces from previous session, but I also see some new faces. So I'll kind of reintroduce myself. Paul Conlin. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks for Minnesota Track Coach Association for inviting me here to share about something I love. I'm one of the throws coaches at UWEC. I've been there for 30 years. Prior to that, I spent a year coaching at Logan High School, right out of college. And I did a 5-year stint at Flatbed, which is my alma mater. Rotational thrower. Like I said, I've been doing this for quite a while. Before many of you were coaching or getting into kind of roles. So a little bit about my history. So I was a glider in high school from Durand, which is a little tiny town, 2,000 people on the Chippewa River in Wisconsin. Just south of Eau Claire. Never thought I'd be back where I grew up, basically. But, life has a strange way of taking you places. So small town in the 80s, there really wasn't a lot of coaching available. For any of you folks that got gray hair here, this was prior to the invention of the internet. So where'd you get your information? People. Maybe you could find some mailers or some videos or not videos, books or whatever you can get your hands on. I was blessed in high school to have a coach that really cared about me. My freshman and sophomore year, our head coach was a mid-distance runner, maybe like some of you were either in high school or in college, that spent time with me. It didn't matter that he didn't know what he was talking about, or the fact that he cared, to stay after practice, to help me get better, and just give me confidence that I was doing something that would pay off, and just share his love of the sport. So I think that is critical to what you guys are doing, and just the fact that you're all here today, it just says a lot about you guys and the state of track and field in this country. I think it's strong, and I really appreciate you guys putting on this clinic here so that we can share information. If this had been available back when I was growing up, I think I probably would have been a better thrower in high school and college. So you're doing a great service to the future athletes. After we finally got a throws coach, he didn't know anything, right? Didn't have any of this available to him, but he cared. But he read, right? But, and he helped me in the way, got me through all that. Went to college, Platteville. Recruiting trip, they bring me down. I'm an engineer, so that's like the only place to go to engineering school in Wisconsin. Bring me down to Platteville, and football coach shows me, he knows I'm a track guy. So he shows me, hey, walk out the building, there's a track, beautiful track. It wasn't beautiful, but at the time, they actually had a track. And talked to me about doing track and football. Ended up going there, come down there the next fall. Hey coach, what happened to the track? Oh yeah, we forgot to tell you, we're tearing it out. And we're building an indoor facility, but that won't be ready for 3 years. College is 4 years. So I didn't have a track the first 2 years. So you make do. I'll talk about it a little bit later, but I know some of you are probably in a similar situation where you don't have the facilities you want, the facilities you desire, but it shouldn't stop you from, getting to where you want to go. Didn't have a coach in college the first couple of years. Got lucky at a nationals my sophomore year, placed second. So that fired me up for more, and so I was training. I worked for the Wisconsin DOT. I was interning in Hudson, throwing at a middle school in the summer. Got hooked up with the high school coach who gave me Steve Forsyth's number. Steve, many in Wisconsin probably know him from coaching Ron Backus. This was back 30 years. Steve ended up being a pretty big part of my life. Loved the guy, did a lot for me, and never took a dime from me. And this is part of me repaying track. Come and share. I still feel like I'm getting a better part of the whole deal because I enjoy it as much as Steve did. But I think that's part of the story that I want to tell is that you guys play a critical role in your athletes' development. Right? Don't downplay it that maybe you don't know everything yet. The fact that you care enough is a lot, right? It goes. It's had a huge impact on me. Just people taking the time to care of me. So you guys control it. I'm at Eau Claire. After college, I was a three-time Division III national champ. Set our conference record in '93, 62, 7. That stood until 2019 when one of my athletes broke it. So shot is kind of in my blood. And in the conference, I coach in the WIAC, which is, it's a war every week. We have some of the best athletes in Division III in track and field. Every weekend's a war. But I don't do it alone. I got a couple helpers here. So over about 25, or about, Raj came to me in 2010 as a kid who threw 50 feet in high school. Didn't make it to state. Came to Eau Claire to play football. Football season ended in November, and we were just starting to practice, and Roger Steen came over and said, "Hey, coach, can I throw?" I said, "Sure, come back on Monday, bring your shoes." He's like, "I got them right here. Let's get going." And I have videos somewhere with Roger's coaching, and you can see the growth and development of this kid that didn't know how to turn. And I'll tell you why we switched it to rotational, just because he had so many bad habits as a minor. It's easier to start with a fresh start, Turned him into a rotator, just under 20 meters with me, and then made it to the Olympic trials in 16. Met Kurt, fell in love, and they now live together with Kurt and Kurt's wife and infant son. So it's kind of a serious relationship, and I'm happy as hell to have him with me at Eau Claire. We have a lot of knowledge in the program, none of us are getting really paid to do it, so there's a lot of passion behind it. And I think that translates to success but once you get a little momentum going, and then that really helps with recruiting, and then they start kind of piling up, and the program, hopefully becomes a draw. So just where we sit as a program in Division III, we've got a couple in the top 10 pretty much in every event, whether it's shot, disc, or hammer. Pretty proud of these statistics. A lot of hard work went into it, and a lot of really great athletes. And more importantly, tomorrow I get to see a lot of them become back for alumni. Right? So to me, that tells me that we're helping them out, and they really enjoy what we did for them, and what they've done for us. That's one of my favorite meets of the year. I love nationals, but alumni is maybe second. Here's where our records are as a D3 program. Dave Portak, that's the indoor national record, indoor national meet record, I should say. Prior to that, it was Rogerson, 1880. So, Erica's, let's see, there's Erica's from, yeah, she was up Throw North, kid. She went over 50 in the shot, over 160 in the disc. And just athletic and just explosive. But she did what she needed to. Outdoor shot, not quite as good. You guys picked up another event. So anyhow, I think we're not a bad little Division III program. So what do I hope you guys get out of this? Hopefully you can take something away. I know you got great experiences in here. I'm not like the last session was the glide shot, and I had a lot of information to get through. And there was a kind of a plan, just like we plan out practices and programming and everything else. This, you guys took a chance on. Ruminations in the ring, I was trying to come up with something that maybe kind of got you thinking. I don't know if anybody took the time to Google or read up, look up what ruminations mean. I think I already went through that. I'm not an engineer in my real job, so I'm like many of you guys. I don't do this for a living, so I don't have 8 hours a day to devote to programming and spending with athletes. I get the pleasure for about 2 hours every day, plus all Saturday from January through May. But who's counting, other than my wife? So ruminations. So, 2 different definitions. I'll let you guys decide which one it is. A deeper considered thought about something, used in a sentence, philosophical ruminations about life and humanity, or the act of chewing the cud. I grew up in a farming community, so I've heard ruminations before, but I'm not sure whether we're using definition 1 or 2, but chewing the cud means something different where I grew up, shooting the shit and just having a conversation. So if you guys have questions, want to know my philosophy about things, raise your hand. Make it interactive. Hopefully you get something out of it. So these are some deep thoughts. I don't know, some of you older folks maybe saw Saturday Night Live and had those deep thoughts by Jack Candy. I don't know if that rings a bell with anybody. That's kind of what stuck in my head as I was trying to put some thoughts together. So these are kind of like base level philosophical things for me. And it's something I truly believe in. So I think every shot putter should learn the fundamentals of the glide. And why is that? It's because of a linear delivery. So young athletes, start them out, teach them that power position. And for those of you that were in that earlier session, kind of taught the power position. 80% of your throw comes out of that power position. Right? Learning to take that power position here, turn the hip, have the hip hit the front, strike the ball. There's slight variations in how you do that between the glide and the rotational, but they're similar enough that learning the power position for the glide and learning the glide is, I think, something everybody should do. Whether that starts in 8th grade or 9th grade or 10th grade, but if you've got a kid coming in that's never touched a shot before, I wouldn't put him, I wouldn't put a shot in his hand and then in 8 weeks or 10 weeks expect him to be a good enough rotator that they feel confident, right? And being a competitor, right? Confidence is everything. And that confidence comes from one, being able to perform it, the movement satisfactorily, but it also comes from the coach, right? And, reinforcement from the coach that you're going in the right direction. And, it's hard to, when you got an athlete that can't balance in the rotation and they're not generating any linearity across the circle, tell them they're doing a good job. But it's really easy to take a power thrower, somebody that can perform a good power throw, and then just add a little bit of movement. All you got to tell them is get to that power position and get through it, right? So, it's literally that simple. I don't care if they shuffle into it, or whether, they're glide. I know the earlier session we talked about you asked about, center of gravity. Yes, there's things that you can do, but I focus on that power position and being able to get through that, and then everything going back from that adds to that power position. So I get a lot of kids that, I'm starting to get it now. When I started coaching, 90% of the kids were gliders. That's what coaching as a whole. There weren't a whole lot of people that had a lot of knowledge about rotation, and I didn't see a lot of kids that come in and have bad habits because they didn't know. So now rotational, I don't even know. How many guys threw live at the World Championships? One? Yeah, one. So everybody thinks they got to be a rotator, right? And I think there's a process, and I think the glide is a big part of that development. So you're not doing a disservice to your athletes by teaching them to glide. I guess that's maybe the underlying point. You're helping them get to where they want to go. So they might want to pressure you to do the rotational because that's what they see. You got to remind them that the goal is to get fundamentally sound and throw the damn ball as far as you can, right? And compete against the other people. And they're freshmen, you got 4 years to work with them and set some, incremental goals for each year, whether that's technique or whatever. But I would set a bar, like before we start working on rotational stuff with you, you have to be able to perform a wheel, right? And you can even talk about maybe doing some of those drills while they're continuing to fly. So you guys know what a wheel drill is, right? So I'll show you a drill, and I don't know, it's called a tap turn, and I'm going to pay for this tomorrow, but I'm willing. So it's a rotational drill, but I use it with my gliders, because it really focuses on the key in the shot, right, on the delivery is activation of the right side and the legs, okay, and making sure that the right hip hits the front prior to the ball being delivered. So hip, ball, go. So a lot of kids come in, want to throw right away. So I do something called tap turn. So they start out in, like I demonstrated this, the teapot before in the previous session. If you weren't there, it's basically kind of a half power throw. Okay, ball's back, it's in my neck, and I'm a rotator, so I got it a little higher on my neck. Okay, and my weight's back here over my right leg, and I know I'm a lefty, so this is my right leg. So I have my feet in a heel-toe position. The ball is back behind my hip. Left arm is up. And I'm going to tap my left foot, okay? And then I'm going to rotate my right. My hips are going to do that. I tap and I turn the hip. My left foot is kind of like a rudder on a ship. I put it into the ground, tap, and I turn. We don't have anything to turn on, but Maybe that'll help. You got some cartilage? That's really what I need. So tap, turn, and then push. So you want to mentally sequence tap, turn, push. So the throw starts from the ground, works up through the hip, up the shoulder, and then into the ball. It's about being patient with the upper body. So that's a rotational drill that I do with gliders. So when you're gliding, right, so we've got the back of the circle, we get into our power position. If the back of the circle is 1, I get to my power position is 2. The first movement after that, 3 is here, okay, I'm releasing it. But I want you to maybe take this and think about 1, power, 2, and 3. So 1, 2, and 3. So 1, get in my power position, 2, and 3 with the upper body. Just a little bit of pause to allow my hips to rotate before I bring the upper body. That's something that whether you're a rotator or glider, having that little bit of delay to allow your hips to come through and keep that separation and turn that elastic in the hips into the ball. All right. This one bugs the hell out of me. Telling an athlete during competition, throw like you do at practice. What does that mean? Right? It's a meet. Maybe you should practice like you compete. At times, you have to practice competing. I think Elijah talked about it earlier. You know, setting up parts of your practice sessions to be more competitive, right? So athletes just can't turn it on in a meet. They have to practice for that. They have to practice getting their mindset to compete. When you're training, you should have a goal, right? So every glide you do, or every rotation you do, you're trying to work on something. And it's not throwing the ball, okay? I'm trying to change this. And change should be, you know, the number one issue for most of your practices until you get into the competitive part of the season. And then it's consistency, right? At some point we kind of put the change away, and we'll get to one of my favorite sayings a little bit later on. So when you put part of your practices in a competitive mode, you're training their brain, and they might get, my coach is so nervous. So there's signs of nervousness that you might see at competitions, whether it's rapid breathing or, I got tired, right? I felt sleepy, so I felt like I needed caffeine. That was the wrong thing to do. But that's your body's response to fight or flight, right? So what they're feeling, you know, as nerves, fight or flight is very similar to excitement. And so a lot of times what they're feeling, what they feel in nerves, it's excitement. So, you know, you gotta let them know that what they're feeling is normal. You can't tell them to calm down. I mean, that's like, you know, did you beat your wife? Or when do you stop beating your wife? It's counterproductive, right? Telling them to calm down. So feeling those nerves is a normal part of competition if you care about something. And getting them to understand that it's part of the process, learn to deal with it, and it is exciting, okay? And it's in their brain.
Can you go back to that last slide?
Yeah, absolutely.
That freaking catch right there is amazing.
Yeah, national champ.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so
the leg strength involved there is nuts.
this is Tyler Jemmy's won one meet his senior year.
Nationals.
Yeah. I mean, every week he kept getting better and better and better. His teammate was a better thrower than him. I mean, consistently all season. And Tyler just knew how to compete. And he used those nerves, as excitement. I've never seen a guy so excited to get out there and compete that day. He wasn't afraid of losing, right? I mean, he had nothing. So if you got a kid that is expected to do well, that's a big thing to carry, right?
Leg strength involved in sitting under the 35-pound ball like that, that's crazy.
Yeah. Good kid. He's coaching at Green Bay. Ashwaubenon, Green Bay. They've got a good program over there right now. Now, if you want to be a champion, train for a championship. Keep your training focused on things that matter. I think at some point you if you want to be a champion, you got to look at the season as it's laid out in front of you, okay? And where's your goal? I don't care how I'm throwing at the beginning part of the year. I care about where I'm at the end of the season. For me, I only care about two meets, indoor nationals and outdoor nationals. We train right through everything. Because we have that goal in mind. So the kids know right away when you come in, you're going to be All-American. That's our goal. That only happens in two meets. It either happens indoor or it happens outdoor. I know, like at state for high school, you have a series of meets to get there, but that's the competitive part of the season. Very similar to ours, but we have a qualifying standard, so it's slightly different, but they still got to get there. But know where you're at in your training and make everything about the end goal. And they have to know what that goal is, they have to buy into it, they have to buy it. And then just train through every other meet, that might require having a conversation with your coach, your head coach or whatever, and make sure that you're all on the same page. That, when we did it, this little meet or this triangular meet doesn't really matter. And telling your kids that, hey coach, do we have to lift today because we have a meet tomorrow? Bullshit. Can I say that?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. They have to buy in that I don't care about this meet. This is another step in getting to where I want to be at the end of the season. If I take a day off today, I'm not making any progress to getting to where I want to go. And they have to buy into that. So we train through every single meet other than nationals. We train through a conference. They're doing heavy legs the day before conference. And just because you did a heavy leg day and your central nervous system is drained, doesn't mean you can't throw far, right? Don't set that expectation for them. Don't give them that up. Like, I still expect you to throw far, even though I just kicked your butt in the weight room, right? Don't give them that up. Kind of plays into this one. You wouldn't send your athletes into the weight room without a plan. You shouldn't send them in the ring without a plan either. So that requires having a conversation with your athletes, whether it's at the beginning of the season or at the beginning of their career, what they want. And I know it changes, so you got to have that conversation multiple times. What does your coach want out of the season? What does that class of seniors want out of their team? And that can change, but they got to have a plan. So there's a story here. This is Alex Mess. Alex was Roger Steen's teammate. Roger's senior year, when he set the international record, they went 1-3 at nationals. Alex was an 18.5-meter guy. And he didn't make it to nationals as a junior in the weight. So we scored 18 points in the shot, or 16 points in the shot at nationals. We won our first title as a team. A lot of it based on our throwers here. Roger left. Alex was the thrower that had to replace him. Alex wasn't a great weight thrower, but Alex wanted to win another title. So Alex, instead of focusing on the shot the next year and winning that title indoors, he learned how to throw the weight and focused his effort on learning the weight. so that he could score team points, because he knew he could, but he just wasn't putting that effort in that area. So the next year at indoor, he gets second in the shot and second in the weight. 16 points. We replaced our points. He didn't win his title. So you see the top photo. Once we got to outdoor, kind of let him go in the shot. I think he got fourth in disc. But, you know, we knew we had a goal as a team. We wanted to repeat as national champs indoors. So he kind of gave up the title to train for the hand, for the weight. But that was part of the plan. And he knew it, and he worked for it. So, I mean, you should kind of approach your season as well. You know, hey, you need to focus on this. But it's got to be a collective discussion with all your athletes and fill gaps in if you can. And I know I'm coaching at the high school or at the college level. It's maybe not the same at the high school level, but I think there's some parallels that you can draw out of there. You know, whether it's at your conference meet or whether it's at your regionals or state, whatever you have for goals, make sure that everybody on your team knows where that is. And whether it's just being at practice every day and supporting your teammates, that's big too. So when you lay out your plan for the year for throwing, you know, you should come to practice every day not knowing what you're doing. Right? So we plan our year out, you know, the first part of the year we're working on fundamentals, and then we're switching into peaking, and I talked a little bit about you know, we're changing the first half, 3/4 of the year, and then we'll focus on peaking. And you look at that at a microcosm of a season, and then we look at that as a career, right? So a lot of your freshman, sophomore year, you're focusing on developmental stuff, and then junior, senior year, we're kicking ass and kicking ass, right? So that's what we tell our kids coming in. You may not be great as a freshman and sophomore, but the key dividends as a junior and senior. And they have to buy into that, because that's their role on the team. And if you can convince your high schoolers, your underclassmen, you know, they get their opportunities at JV conference or freshman conference or whatever, hopefully they have opportunities like that, they can take advantage of some of those. We use under and overweight implements to address certain parts of the throw or parts of the season. We're using a lot more. I mean, we typically in shop we throw a 3-ball set every day throughout the season, so we're using a light ball, some sort of light ball, heavy ball, comp ball. We're throwing them all in every practice. But it changes from early on in the season. We're throwing a lot more heavy ball, little comp ball, and a little bit of light ball, just so your body's adapting. And then once we get into more of a competitive season, the heavy ball goes away a little bit. You know, it changes maybe from 70, 20, 10. It changes to 50, 30, 20, or the other way around. But it's kind of up to you based on facilities and what you have available to you, but have a plan. Even if you only have a 16-pound shot, or 12-pound shot, or a 4K, just have a plan. Whether it's number of reps, whether it's we're going to focus this part of the practice on, you know, as I said earlier, power throw, 70%, the rest of it is on growth.
Oh, do you have a set number, like a normal number, like you want to see your kids be able to throw 30 throws, 35 throws? Like, obviously, it's always going to move up and down depending on the day, but do you have a typical number of reps you want to see in your practice?
Yeah, somewhere between 30 and 35. But we vary it depending on the day of the week. You know, so we try to touch each implement twice a week. Sometimes 3 times, you know, when we're training. Once you get outdoors, it gets a little tougher. But we set a goal somewhere in there where we're getting roughly 60 to 100 throws a week in each event. And that's releases with either a light or heavy ball. They're doing drills on top of that outside. But again, you know, we're dealing with 12 to 16 kids. When you're dealing with 30, you know, unless you've got a crate of discs and shots like Paul's got, you know, I think, you know, implements, having enough implements is a challenge for you guys. So, I don't have an answer to that one.
On your days and weeks when you're taking less reps, do you mirror that in your post-workout in the weight room then also?
it depends on the type of season. I kind of got the season laid out, you know, so, I mean, like January, February for us, we're heavy balls in the weight room with kicking it. And then we're continuing with the heavy balls through most of indoor, and then we're backing off and getting into more competitive. Through the, like our season competitively runs from January to May. So from January to, you know, through the end of February, mid-February, we're hitting pretty hard on the labor and with the heavy implements. And then we're transitioning roughly from middle of February through, you know, mid-March, where we're transitioning from a little bit back and down the way, but not a lot. And then we're adding in more of the lighter balls, taking away a lot of the, you know, the 20 pounds or, you know, maybe for you guys maybe 10 pound, or a 10 pound, or, you know, for the girls, or, you know, maybe thrown with a 60 pound, or 14 pound, 50 pound for the guys. But it's something to consider based on what you have for facilities, whether you have heavy shot. I mean, you guys are all have different challenges. So again, hopefully you take something, but have a plan. Again, that's they don't want to come to practice and just do whatever the heck they want. You know, have a plan and then have some sort of progression throughout the season. Typically, you know, whether your facilities, you only have enough where, you know, even if the only weight training you have control of is the number of throws, there's some sort of loading period where they're taking more throws, and then you're backing off that so they get these rebounds. Right? So there has to be some sort of plan, and it's all generated around, you know, your individual facility challenges or opportunities.
So do you, so you're using 3 different weights of practice, heavy, light.
Yep.
How do you implement that? Do you go heavy to light, or?
Yeah, typically, like, we'll start with non-reverse, you know, throws, and then we'll start with a heavy ball. We'll maybe take 3 to 5 throws, the heavy ball, then count ball, and then light ball. Sometimes it may not touch the count ball, but we've got, and just for the guys, we've got 20, we've got 10K, we've got 18, we've got 17, 16, 14, down 5 and 6K balls that they have access to. So we've got a pretty big series, but some sort of heavy, either comp or slightly less than comp, and then a lighter, you know, 10, 20% lighter.
Yeah, but for beginners when they come in, and you wait for them to know or?
Yes and no. One, there's some specific strength things. You know, I'm not going to give a high schooler a 20-pound shot. You know, as a freshman, you know, they just can't handle it. But they'll start with a 16, and that's heavy for them, you know, with the guys. And with the girls, you know, yeah, one, we're doing a lot of fundamental stuff the first year. But then we start maybe, as soon as the season starts, we're throwing 3-ball sets. Yeah. Okay, so our multis are not. Our multis don't throw a 3-ball set. So they only get 30 throws a week. So timing is critical for them and just more repetitions in the circle. So that might be more like some of your athletes, you know, that are only getting 30 to 40 throws a week. So we're getting 100 throws a week at least. So, I mean, you can fit in a 3-ball set. So if you can't, I never threw heavy balls. Very rarely, because we didn't have it. We had a 60-pound that I had a drill press and drilled out. You know what I'm saying? We manufactured stuff, right? The guys before me took a Briggs and Stratton engine block and like cut stuff off it to make a 35-pound. I mean, you're old. I'm old. So it's finding out whatever you've got. If you have the opportunity and it's not going to kill them, a 3-ball set is pretty productive. You know, the heavy ball, one, there's some specific strength. For rotators, it helps you feel the catch, you know, because it's weighted. And then the light ball typically is, you know, you're building speed and timing. That your central nervous system just finally starting to adapt back off in the weight room. So that when you get in there, comp speed, that light ball feels more like a comp ball. Does that make sense? I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah.
I threw a lot of stuff up there.
So when you say 3-ball set, Paul, when you're throwing, do you throw like one light and one comp and one heavy, or do you put all your lights together?
We put all of them together, so we're take the first 3 or 4 with the heavy, and then we kind of move through each ball set at each drill. Right.
So they're all strung together?
Yeah, so we do all our powers or all our no reverse at the front, we'll work the 3-ball set, and then we'll go to the next, whether it's wheels, and then we'll go to the fulls using the 3-ball set. That's just how we do it, and it seems to be working. I think I answered already. All right, the dance with the girl who brung you. Those that know Steve, so this is me, back in the day. And I don't know why I kept saying dance with the girl who brung you. That's me in the bottom picture. With the girls. I'm just kidding. There's a lot of information out there available to you and your kids. And you know, the ones that care are going to go out on Instagram. They're going to be following different athletes. They're going to, hey, I want to try this. I want to try that. How you deal with that, to me, is important. I mean, you know, you can acknowledge that there are other models that they see and that other athletes are using. But maybe you should, maybe you aren't ready to incorporate that, or maybe your model that you're using doesn't do it that way. There's so many different theories and models out there. You just can't pick and choose. You kind of gotta have a goal in mind. You can't just throw stuff on it. So if you see something like the Krauser side step or whatever he's calling it, don't add that until you've mastered everything else. I mean, Ryan's looking for another meter, you know, so he's already perfected his craft. My kids aren't athletes, right? So they're not looking. We just got to perfect where we're at, and we're on path, and we've got a vision, and the model works. You know, you might make some individual adaptations for, you know, I've got a girl that doesn't have, you know, she's got an issue with ankle mobility. She broke her ankle in gymnastics, so she can't turn her ankle. So that slightly affects some things that she can do in surgery. So you have to, you know, craft a model around some of those things. That's not wrong, but what this was, he kept reminding me, there was a lack of information. So you'd see somebody that knew something, you talk to them, and oh, this is all new to me. How do I apply it? Acknowledge it and say, yeah, that's great. Let's master what we're working on, and then we'll keep that in mind as we move forward. And if there's a time and a place, we'll fit it in. But there's a lot of different people out there. They all have different philosophies, and none of them are really wrong. As long as you buy into the whole philosophy. It's not that hard. It's just a shot, or it is, or whatever it is. I told the story before about a track being renovated or blown up my freshman year. You find a way to overcome and adapt, and talk to your talk to your athletes. Don't let them use it as an out. Find a way, overcome it. If you could overcome not having facilities, you're in this circle and you've worked harder than everything else. If your athletes believe that they're working harder than everybody else, they're going to work harder than everybody else. So this is me. It's, I don't know why I threw that on there. But I didn't have facilities. This is Erica. I talked about her a little bit earlier. This was our discus circle up until about 3 years ago. It's a slab of concrete, and yep, that's a drinking fountain or a bubbler. Right? And that's a garbage can. There's no cage. National champion. Facilities don't matter. It's finding a way. Our head coach was, small town kid. They didn't have a track. He was a long jumper. On his mark, he had a, pile of sand and he jumped in. When there's a will, there's a way. Don't let it be a crush. Everybody's got something. You go to Oregon, I'm sure they're bitching about this. Oh, I wish we had this. Well, everybody's got something to bitch about. Don't let them use it. That's my point. Nobody accidentally wins a championship. Here's Erica again, Ryan. So this is at Drake. She knew she wanted to be a national champ. And she did everything that she could. She wasn't going to let anything stop her. You know, she had a vision in mind, and she came to us as a freshman and said she wanted to win. She put the effort in to win. She focused on her goals. She came to us as a discus thrower. Her first title was in shot. But that wasn't accidental. You know what she didn't do outdoors? She won her first shot indoors. And kind of like Alex, the story I told before, we knew what she wanted. She wanted to win the discus title. But she had a little business to take care of indoors first. But then we kind of shifted her training once we got outdoors because she wanted to win a discus title. If you asked her what she was, I'm a discus shooter. So focus on your goals, keep that in mind, and don't let anybody change them, and they can be adapted to the season. Hit on this one earlier, I think the toe board's there for a reason. Use it. Get comfortable working in the front of the shot circle, attacking it with your hip, getting out over the board. We're the only event that's got it to the board. You know, discus doesn't have anything in the front, the hammer doesn't, javelin doesn't, you know, they try to trick it with javelin. Toe board's there for a reason. Attack it, treat it as a friend. When you land with your foot into the toe board, you know, I like to feel it so I know where I'm at, and then when I recover, I get my heel down into the toe board, and you can use it, especially if you're a glider, you don't have as much rotational forces. You see him down here, he's on his heel, and his ankle's right up into the toe board. He's out extended over the toe board. That's not a bad glide finish. Also, training at the front. You know, there's a time and place to fall, I think. Be cognizant of when you fall. Make it part of your practices, extending out over and pushing the envelope. It's easier to pull somebody back in, you know, than to get somebody to attack the toe board. But don't make it like a habit where they don't realize they're doing it. Because they will do it in competition, and I've got a video a little bit later here. Recover first, and then if you're throwing far enough, the ball's still going to be in the air, right? So they've got a whole bunch of people out there that kind of watch it for it and measure it. Never give up on a throw. I'm just going to let this video stand for itself. So this is Jacob Eckway, Dr. Eckway. I like to call him. He's in his 6th year, middle player. He's got an outdoor discus season left. I think he was the 24th ranked discus thrower men last year in the country. But I'll just let this video go. So this is setting it up. This is round 6 international last year. He's in 2nd place. He was in. He got caught looking, right? He almost blew a national title because he got caught looking. Good thing is, you know, he was comfortable in the circle, and you know, he felt kind of like in practice. He wasn't thinking, but he almost lost it. But then he stuck with it, and he stuck his rule. He changed the rule a few years ago. He knew the rules. You just gotta walk up the circle, one after the other, control. Never give up on a throw. I see kids all the time. You know, oh, it wasn't good. I don't know how far it was. Another story, the indoor national record, 1983, set by Cornack. He was going to follow it. So he threw it, was setting it up, opening throw at nationals. He opened 1983. You know, they had got lines out there for 2 meters. He thought it hit just in front of the 18. And he didn't know where it was. It felt easy. He didn't think it was good, so he was going to follow it. So we're like, no! You know? And, so don't give up on a throw. Don't follow throws. You don't know if you don't know how it's supposed to feel, right? when you're learning, don't trust yourself. Like a good throw, like your best throw is going to feel different than everything else. It should feel like effortless. And a lot of people are like, oh, that didn't feel good. That's what we want, you know? So let the judges do their judging, let them do the measuring, and you just take care of business in the circle, and learn from that. I mean, if you can take something away from that effortless throw and do it again, great. But the best throws feel different. I think you can ask almost any thrower. Their best throws don't feel like everything else. If this kinetic chain from the ground up through their hip into the shoulder, it just feels different. Mark, wouldn't you say that? It just feels different when the timing clicks and the timing is just right. Okay, championships are not held in great weather. Get out and practice in the rain. When it's cold. Midwest, summers, springs, whatever. It's cold, rainy, get a coat. Invest in a parka, rain gear, boots. Especially for the coaches, you know. Use every opportunity to train. One thing I see is wet circles. I love them. You know, you have to be on balance in that wet circle. So it's almost like a training game. You know, there's less friction, which is good. In the discus, you know, you have to have your force over the top of your foot in order to have any sort of friction, right? So all your energy, all your weight's got to be on your foot when you're pushing out of the back of the circle. If you're leaning or falling, you're not going to generate as much friction on your foot. Your foot's going to move, right? So use the weather to help you become a better thrower. Also, it builds confidence. Championships aren't always held in great weather. And if you're used to training in, and you can convince your athlete that nobody else is, they're going to do well. So I know we've got a little bit of time left here. I'm going to go through some of our programming philosophy. There aren't any shortcuts to success unless you just got a great athlete. Play the long game. You know, like I said earlier, numerous times, I think, you know, treat your season, you know, like it is, and then treat their career the same way. Growth, development, and then peak. Here's my three amigos, and I kind of put that into the three pillars of our training program. We got a physical prep, technical prep, and mental prep. And it is a three-legged stool. Don't take any shortcuts. Make sure that when you're developing yours, you try to have all three of them. Don't skip the mental prep. It's a big thing, right? Making sure that your athletes feel confident at the end of the year. I can't sit here and give you a program that'll work for you. I mean, it's going to depend on a lot of different things that you guys have individually, right? So it's got to be built around your facilities, what you have in the weight room, whether you have a specific strength coordinator, whether you're doing the programming for your athletes or not, whether you rely on somebody in your network to help, you know, generate strength and conditioning programs for your athletes. Everybody's a little bit different, but if you build a program around your facilities and what you have, and be conscious about that, I think that will help. Circles, you know, basically rings. How many do you have? How many kids do you have in your program? That's another thing. You know, if you have big areas of concrete or whatever that you can do drills on. If you don't, you know, where can you find them? Whether it's in a gym or a hallway or whatever. Find a way to get things done that you want to get done with your athletes. You have indoor facilities. Not everybody has them. I know it's changing. I'm glad to see that most people have some sort of access either temporarily or fully with their own indoor facilities. That's great. What do you have for athletes? How many of them do you have? How many of them are getting external coaching, right? I mean, there's a lot of great opportunities to get outside coaching, and, you know, take it. What are their experience levels? You know, if you've got 6 kids and they're all freshmen, you know, your program should look different than if you have 30 kids and you've got a mix of, you know, freshmen to seniors or 8th grade to seniors. And I can't tell you what that's going to look like. The point is to have a plan. And it doesn't matter, this is going to sound bad, but it doesn't matter what your plan is. It's better than having no plan at all, right? So, you know, take some of the concepts and make sure that you're progressing towards something and just think about it. And anything you do is gonna be better than that. Just showing up to practice and throwing isn't gonna get you where you want to be. How much time do you have? You know, where they have time to lift, you know, that kind of is a corollary to how many athletes you have. Having a conversation with your head coach, making sure that you and your head coach, and if you're fortunate to be the head coach, maybe you don't have to have that conversation, but what are the expectations? What do they consider as success? What do your athletes consider success? What do they want to get out of it? My preference would be, if you want to be, you know, create a championship, then you focus on those end of the years. If you're building a program and you need kids to come out and, you know, you want to have a win-loss ratio or something, your program's going to look different, right? Yeah. Flexibility and adaptability. So this is kind of what we do. It's a 53-week program. Why we do it 53? There's only 52 weeks a year. So every year things change. It's all based on our national outdoor meet. And then everything kind of backs off. We adjust between nationals and outdoor nationals and indoor nationals. And we put in different phases. So we got our pre-prep. So we're getting the body ready to move. We're getting the general strength development. Then we've got prep. You know, it's again focusing that energy more towards specific throwing. And then we've got pre-competitive, so we're kind of converting more of that to more power generation. And then we've got our competitive thing where we're peaking and changing things. And then that competitive is our indoor season. And then we've got to try to do it all over again, kind of hit reset. There's not a lot of time to do that. And then we've got another competitive season. So you guys, you know, can you compress that down to a 12-week season? Probably not. You know, your season's probably gonna, you know, some of them aren't gonna be doing football or, you know, cross country or whatever else, volleyball, whatever else they're doing. Fall, some of your athletes are gonna be doing baseball or basketball. It might be individualized. I don't know if you guys are gonna be creating this or if you're gonna have a strength and conditioning coordinator. But at least have some sort of concept of loading and unloading. If you can keep it that simple that we're kicking their butt in the weight room and then we're slowly pulling it off, that's probably all the best you can do in programs, right? But then you can't skip meets. You gotta load them up and unload them. So I included, you get a copy of this. This is what we start our kids on. It's a 4-day split. But you can see, so this is a sample pre-prep, so this is like off-season what they're doing, general conditioning and strength training. It changes once we get into pre-competitive. And then I included a competitive. One thing you'll notice is that we're going up back to here. So one way to control loading and unloading, we're going 4 days a week. You'll see this is the number of days a week we're going. And then we slowly transition from 4 days a week to 3 days a week, and then out here, we're down to 2 days a week. So we're mixing it up just from the number of times per week during the week. You can find some way, just come up with a plan. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to do it. There's a lot of stuff out there. And it's not important. I don't want to downplay it. But as long as you're doing something, and again, loading and unloading, I think you're going to be doing fine. And don't doubt it. You know what I'm saying? And trust it. We just do something. Technical preparation. That's your technical development of your athletic movements, your shot, discus, whatever. Learning how to throw. That's going to be bound by facilities, your different experience levels, and your program is going to have to take that into account. Whether you're upperclassmen are doing just as many drills as your freshmen. Is that necessary? Probably not. Depending on individual, some of your seniors may be really good. Some of them maybe haven't progressed off of, where they were as a freshman. Can you have that conversation? Can you break kids up at the high school level by how good they are, or by how advanced they are in different techniques? Those are things you're going to have to deal with. I don't have to freshman to senior, have a plan through the whole process. Again, I tell our freshmen, we're focusing on learning. Sophomores, almost the same thing depending on where they're at. Juniors and seniors, go get them. I included, so general warm-up stuff. So I've got different drills for warm-up every day. Before practice, there's competitive, there's practice, and then sometimes we just do a longer. Whether we do this all the time or not, it really depends on the time. I already answered that one. Mental preparation. Get them to buy into what you're doing. And the only way to do that is if you have a plan. And just can lay it out, whether it's concepts or written down or whatever. But if they buy into whatever you're doing, they're going to be better off than, kind of like I was, trying to figure it out along the way. That builds confidence. Explain it. Have a plan for competition preparation. Explain to them that nervousness, that those feelings they're feeling are part of fight or flight, but they're actually they're excited. They feel almost the same. What they're feeling is excitement. It's not nerves. Being able to see what they expect at the end, and actually focusing on that. Don't ask your athletes how you feel, right? Don't even have them question that. Say, today's a great day to throw far. Don't ask them how they're feeling because it doesn't freaking matter. They're going to beat that thing, right? Don't give them the out. You don't expect them anymore. You don't. So, what I wanted with this one, if I want to leave you with anything. So hopefully I get some of your kids eventually. My goal for them is to get them to graduate. And then enter the coaching field somewhere down the line. Not many of us become, make track and field our whole life. Even me, I love the damn thing. And it's only a small part of my life. But it's one of the most meaningful parts, right? So we try to make sure that they transition from high school into college. It's different, right? And most kids right now struggle with studying in high school. You can get by with just being a normal person, right? And not studying. If my son is anything to, if it's any sort of reflection on what the typical youth of today is, he didn't do shit, and got through and graduated. That doesn't fly in college, right? So we spend the first semester checking in, making sure that they have the study skills that they need to succeed at the college level. That's one of the most important things about keeping on the team. But that's one thing that we do, right? And that's one thing that I personally focus on is I want my kids to graduate. And they can't compete for me if they're not healthy. So, if you guys get a chance to impress upon any of your kids that are going to college that it's different, and that they should develop some of these skills that they have, or that they need to have, and identify them, and let them know that it's different. Our grade point average on campus but for track in general is higher than the general population. Why? Because we have structure. It's a big thing that isn't there in a lot of high school, or in a lot of college kids' lives. They come in, they've got all this time, they take 2 classes a day. We provide them structure during 3 hours every afternoon. They have to be there. So we ask them, when are you doing your study? And kind of build around that. So we try to have a plan to get them in. Now we've got nursing. You can't, our nursing program is so competitive. You know, 3.8, you're probably not going to make it into our nursing. So, and if they don't make it into our nursing program, then they either have to go someplace else, or we have a program with our technical college where they get their nursing certificate through there and finish their graduation from Claire. They can't compete when they're doing that. I want student athletes. So I'm committed to that. Any questions? And again, thank you for letting me come and fill your minds with something. I know I'm a little bit over it, I apologize.
That's okay. Before we give Coach a round of applause, I want to thank you guys for being here. Just as much, I want to thank our speakers. Paul was in Duluth last night, got down here to the cities today, spoke twice here, and has an indoor meet tomorrow. Elijah's in the same boat. Elijah flew in last night. He flies out like 8 o'clock in the morning tomorrow morning back to Fargo and has an indoor meet in Fargo for the rest of the day tomorrow. So the sacrifice that these guys are making to be here to present to you, to me, and be as awesome as they are and charismatic about the throws and passionate about what they're talking about, to me is fantastic. We are very lucky. I've been to other states' coaches' clinics, and they don't do justice to what we're able to do in Minnesota. So please thank our speakers, please thank our heads of our coaches association for being able to fund what we're able to do here and fly coaches in and out and provide what we need to provide to get the best of the best to be here for you. So thank you, Paul.